Hi everyone and welcome back. So the first video that I did was about the menu options over here. The second video I provided for you was talking specifically about how to create content folders. And then the third video, I talked about two types of content in those content folders, which were items and files. So now I'm going to show you how to go into the content folder and create a basic assignment. So I'm going to click on my content folder here, Unit 1. You'll see already the item that I created for people to read. All the students can see it, right? And then the two files, one of which I just uploaded regular way, assignment instructions, and then the other one I enabled statistics tracking so that I could check to see if my students were actually looking at my lecture notes. So now I'm going to create an assignment for them. Again, I think I said this in a different video, but you can see that there are a lot of different options here, and I will show you in a different video how to do a test if you would like to create a test for Blackboard. But for the most part, most people when they're using Blackboard use just, 2 or 3, maybe 5 at the most of these options. I use items, I use files, I use YouTube videos, sometimes web links, and then I just do assignments and discussion forums. That's it. There's like 20 different other things that I didn't even mention. And I think that that's one of the reasons people find Blackboard a little bit confusing, because it tries to give you everything instead of just, focusing on those things you might actually use. But again, those things will be different for everybody. So right now we're going to create an assignment that's under assessments. So you go to assessments and you click assignment. There are 2 different ways that you can create this assignment. The first is to put all of the instructions in this instructions box. So I have some from one of my other assignments. I'm going to paste those in there. Okay. Typically, I'm going to call this, apparently this is for a revision. And I like students to know that it's an assignment. So I put the word assignment there, and then I give it my title. Informative essay revision. Sorry for typing slow. I'm just doing it with one hand while I hold the mic. There we go. Informative essay revision. Then I have my description, and I always give them at least 2 pieces of information. 3 pieces of information, rather. The first is how many points it's worth. It will be in the actual assignment. I'll show you guys that in a second. But they like to know that information right off the bat. How many points is this going to be worth? The second is the due date. So for this, it will be due. I talked about this before. By 11:59 on April 4th. Okay, there we go. My folder already tells them when things are going to be due. It's also up in that informational item that I put at the beginning of the class. So how many points it is, when the due date is, and then also my students have been submitting things the entire semester through Blackboard, so I don't really need to put this anymore, but I do recommend that you put this in. Please submit as a Word or PDF document. And then I usually explain or sometimes explain Blackboard is not compatible, and then I might put with some certain other files. For example, .pages. Here, I'm just going to put other file types. And I could spell compatible, right? That would be great. Did it change it? Okay. So they have Word in their school email for free. That's an important thing to communicate because many of them do not know that. So you can tell them, in Outlook, in your school email, you have Word for free. Other times I have them submit a PowerPoint document. For some classes, maybe that's Excel, but Google Docs doesn't work. If they're trying to submit the actual document, they're going to have to save it as a Word document. So just something for them to know. They have to submit in certain file types. And that's basically the information that I convey. You can see here the full directions are attached and in the document above. One of the files that I put up here already were assignment directions. The reason that I do that is some people put all of their directions in this box. Again, students have to scroll through things. So even this much information, I'll show you how it looks in real life. This is their revision. This is how much space it takes up. Then I put the assignment directions here and I attached them here. And I'll show you guys how to attach the directions to an assignment. But you can imagine if I put the entire sheet of directions, how much scrolling that would be. And then it gets confusing where they need to click and what they need to do. So I try to keep it a little bit shorter. Okay, so down here, now I'm going to attach my directions. These are all PowerPoints and not at all where I thought I was. Here we go. Open. So now those are attached. I'm going to have a due date. And I told them April 4th. So that's a Saturday. And you'll notice, again, 11:59 is the default. Now, if you don't want to set it to the end of the day, I recommend setting it at the end of the day. But if you really hate that idea, you can go in here and set it to whatever time you like. So if you always meet at 9 a.m., you can click 9 a.m. If you want it at the end of the day and you change your mind, end of the day is right there. So any time up here, it's all in 30-minute increments. If you want to do it 3 a.m., I guess you could. I don't recommend that either, but it is what it is, whatever you want. All right. I've told them that this is worth 100 points, so I'm going to add that here. The rubric. I don't have any in this practice class. I do for my regular classes, and that is a whole other... That's a whole other process. If I have time, I will make a video for you guys on how to create your rubric in Blackboard. But for right now, if you don't have that set up already in Blackboard, then I would just leave it as it is. Okay, submission details comes next, and this is particularly important. The number of attempts should be set to unlimited. And then I always set my score attempts using the highest grade. So the reason for this, and then if you want to check for plagiarism, you can check that. And if you do, I recommend that you allow students to see their plagiarism report. The reason for unlimited attempts, many students are in in-person classes because they don't like doing things online. Many of them will be anxious about it. So having just one attempt is not really student friendly. And also what I've found is sometimes students want to submit just part of it and they'll ask me to look at their assignment, look it over. Or sometimes, because we're all human and we're all getting used to using Blackboard, sometimes students will submit the wrong paper. So I've had a lot of students who accidentally submit something for a different class, or they submit a paper that, they're submitting paper 1 and we're on paper 4 and they just clicked the wrong file. I also set it at highest grade because you have to grade the other previous attempts. So you can put in zeros for, if they submit a file 6 times, you can put zeros in for the first 5, and then you can grade the 6th. And then you just click submit. And now we have our assignment with our directions. We've put in, there we go, and it's right down there. Here's the assignment. Here's the attached file. Here are the directions right underneath. And then for our purposes, they can submit as many times as they need to. And the highest grade is what will go into the grade book. And it's also being checked for plagiarism. If you want to edit that at any point, you can click edit. For example, one of my students said, "Oh, but can we submit more than one time?" And I was like, "Yes, you can." And then I thought I probably should put that someplace in here, right? So if I wanted to add to the directions, submit as many times as needed. Maybe I do that. Or maybe I want to change the due date time or the day. Let's say I'm going to give them a week extension. I'm going to switch that to April 11th. Or maybe I added the wrong thing here for the wrong file and I need to browse my computer and add a different file. Whatever the case may be. The points are in there. Unlimited attempts, highest grade, and checking for plagiarism, and then submit. And that is basically it. That's how you set up an assignment. So there we go. And there are our changes right there. So that's how you do an assignment. In the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to set up a discussion forum. A discussion board is really helpful if you are trying to replicate the type of discussion that you might have in class. So it can be really helpful for that. The only other thing I want to say before I go about the assignments, I use these for my journals as well. I don't like how the journal tool is set up here. It's under tools and it's journals. You can't check journals for plagiarism. So if you're doing a class with any type of writing, I just recommend that you, instead of calling, if you call it a journal, then title your assignment journal, thoughts on chapter 8 or whatever the case may be. But I don't recommend using the journal tool, so I'm not going to show you guys how to use that. But I will show you how to do the discussion boards in the next video. So that's it. I hope that this was helpful. And again, if you have any questions, you can always email me.